Well, I'm Dr. Jackie Priestley, and I want to thank you so much for joining me today. You have tuned into Let's Talk About It. And you know me, I get excited about the guests that God gives me to bring on deck to share with you. But I am especially thrilled today because I have my beautiful friend and my sister in Christ, Ayda Potter.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you, thank you.
I'm so excited. We met, over a year ago? Two years ago, maybe. Yeah. And we met at a church called His Place.
Yes.
And there are a couple branches of His Place. We met at the one in Westminster.
That is correct,
yeah.
Yes.
And I was taken with your heart. I asked you a question about where something was as I was wandering the halls, and you answered me. But within a couple feet, there was just something that happened in my spirit. And I knew that I needed to get to know you. I felt love coming out of you.
Amen.
And I was excited about that. So Ayda has agreed to be with us today because she has an extraordinary story. I mean, it's the stuff that you could make movies with. You know, you don't have a typical background.
No.
You didn't have a typical childhood. It's just one thing after another. And I know you as the woman you are today in Christ.
Yes.
And how much you love Him.
Oh, I do.
And I mean, it's like you have a romance love with the Lord. He's your everything.
He truly is.
Like, He really is. And you all, when you find out about her background, you're going to say, well, I can see why Jesus is everything to her. So we're going to jump in, and you're going to help me unpack your story for our viewers and share. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles, California.
Okay, so
Yes.
you're a California girl by birth.
By birth,
But
yes.
then, and you're a twin.
I am a twin,
You're
yes.
a twin.
Identical twin.
Identical twin. But something happened to your mommy when you were a baby.
Yes. About 8 months after we were born, our mom passed away.
I'm so sorry about that. And you didn't even really know her.
No,
Yeah.
no, just through pictures.
Through
and,
pictures.
Yes.
Yeah. And the other thing is that's interesting to me is you come from a big family.
I do.
And there are 2 sets of twins in your family.
There is 2 sets of twins.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
Yes.
So, but there, how many total kids in your family?
So,
when
well,
you were
now
growing up?
there's a total of 8.
Okay.
But with my mom, there was a total of 7.
Okay.
So my dad remarried and then had a child.
Okay. And how old were you when your dad remarried?
I was 2 years old.
2 years old.
Yes.
So the stepmom is basically the
She's
mom
my
you've
mother,
known.
yes,
She's
yes.
your mother. Yeah. Okay. And I love the names of your siblings. Again, not typical right from the start. So what are the
Yes.
names of your siblings?
So starting with my brothers, we have Jamil, Jamal, Jahad, and then the sisters are Sabrina, Majida, myself, Ayda, Lulia, and Nadia.
Okay. And so these are not typical American names. Why are they not typical American names?
Well, because we're Palestinian. So my dad is Palestinian from Jerusalem, and my mom was German.
What a combination.
Yes. I think we
have chuckled about that several times. I was raised by a German war bride.
Yes.
I'm okay. And those of you out there who were, once in a while, I meet people who were raised by German war brides, and we suddenly stop the conversation and we go, how are you? Because we understand that our childhoods were very different than typical American childhoods, as was yours.
Yes.
And then I think about, okay, you've got the Palestinian mindset and culture and strength of culture and fervor and all of that, and German.
Yes,
And
yes.
when the first time you told me about that, and I thought, oh my gosh, I hope it didn't come across rude, but I burst out laughing so hard.
I remember.
Sorry if I
No,
offended you at the time, but I thought, talk about Clash of the Titans
No,
with
yes.
cultures. And so what was that like?
I mean, that's
having
very strong.
those strength of
Yes.
cultures in your upbringing.
Well, I mean, it's very strong, but I was, so like I said, my mom passed away, so we didn't really have my mom's side of the family.
Okay.
That was more as adults that we would
Okay.
kind of seek to understand that side of our
And
family.
her side was the German
The
side.
German side, yes.
Yeah.
So we grew up under the Arabic,
The Arabic. Okay.
stronghold, kind of, I guess I would
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, do you speak Arabic?
So I used to speak Arabic.
Okay.
I can say a few things in Arabic, but I'm not fluent in Arabic, no.
And what about Farsi or any of the other
No,
Middle
just
Eastern
Arabic.
languages?
Just Arabic, yes.
Arabic. Okay. So when your dad and your stepmom married your mom, she's your mom, she raised you.
Yes.
Would you say it was a good marriage, a peaceful marriage? What was the atmosphere in the home?
I mean, it was definitely not a peaceful marriage. I think there was an opportunity. So my father was losing he wasn't going to be able to keep all 7 children without having someone in the house to help with the children.
And that's why he remarried?
So, well, he actually pulled in a live-in babysitter who then he decided to have a relationship with, and then he got married. So, but to get us out of, because we were all separated into foster homes, so to pull us all back into a household, he needed someone to be there as a caregiver.
Yes.
And so that's how my mom came into the picture. And my mom is, at the time she was like 23, a foreigner from another country. So she just, she kind of got thrown into a situation that was probably a little overwhelming for her. No doubt, raising 7 children.
What was the age difference between herself and your dad?
Well, I think it's not that. My dad passed away a long time ago, so I want to say that there was probably like 15 years age difference. My mom was young.
Yeah.
My stepmom was really young.
Yeah, yeah. So your dad made a decision to do something with you kids, which I remember when the first time you shared that with me, and I don't know if you guys will respond the same way, but my mouth dropped open, and I looked like I was trying to catch flies. My mouth just dropped open and hung open while you were telling me. So he made a decision. He was overwhelmed, and then the culture it was what to him was normal.
Yes.
From his background and his culture, not normal to us in this country. But what did he decide to do?
He decided to send myself, my twin, my 2 older sisters, and the youngest boy in our family. He decided to send us to the Middle East, so that we would have a better life, I guess, in his eyes.
Questionable.
Yes.
So
definitely.
Yeah, different opinions, different perspectives.
Yes.
So how old were you when he decided to do this?
So when this happened, I was 10.
And your twin was 10.
So me and my twin were 10. My older sisters were 13, and then my brother was 14.
Wow.
Yes.
So you guys, the girls you guys were little at 10. That's little kids.
Yes.
And then 13 is just starting to figure out.
That's a hard age for young adults or young children, I guess.
You need a mom, and you need a dad, and you need stability, and then the 14-year-old son. And you were put on a plane. Did he go with you, or did you go?
No, he just put us on a plane and sent us to Jordan. We actually moved to Jordan.
You 5 kids by yourself?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. To Jordan.
Yes.
Wow. How did he get you to agree to that? Or did you even get a vote? Or how did that come about?
Well, we didn't get a vote. However, we did not go with the understanding that we were going to stay. Like we were going under the impression that it's summer vacation. You're going to go meet your family over there. I'll follow shortly. And then the next thing we know, it's been years later, and
So,
we don't hear from our dad. We can't talk to our dad. We
oh my
kind of
gosh.
like neglected and forgot about.
No kidding. What was that like for you? Were you just, I mean, obviously feelings of confusion
Definitely.
and probably abandonment.
For sure, abandonment. I mean, there's probably so many emotions that were going through all of us. Because
yeah.
we started like, there was, we were together. We were so close. All four of us girls were so close, even my brother. But then we were under so much stress. So I remember fighting a lot with my brothers and sisters.
Which kids do when they're unhappy and scared, and
Yeah.
they feel helpless about what parents are doing. They take the anger and the frustration and they turn on each other because
Yeah.
they are on a smaller scale, so they can lash out. Whereas the parent that you're angry with
Yeah.
has too much power.
Well, not only that, the Middle Eastern culture is a lot different than American culture. So,
Yeah.
us being not only young, but being female, our opinion or voice didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
They didn't care how we felt, what we thought, what we were going through. And again, there's also a language barrier. My family doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
So we were kind of thrown into a situation where we were forced to learn a different language, and as well as, my family trying to understand us trying to understand them, not being able to say, hey, can I just call my dad? So it was a lot.
Horrible.
Yes, it was
And
definitely a hard experience.
My goodness, Ayda. So you're thrown on a plane. You're deceived. You're thrown on a plane. The five of you.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the Middle East, to Jordan,
Yes.
and look up Jordan. It's an interesting country and culture, and belief systems, and socialization with the family, and lack of women's rights
Yes.
and say so, crushing. But I was so gobsmacked when you were sharing with me over periods of time as I've gotten snippets. I was never thinking about the language barrier. Then you couldn't even, of course, if you could speak up and you could speak in the language, they wouldn't have cared what your opinion was anyway.
Yeah, no, we weren't valued.
You weren't?
But then eventually, my sisters reached out to my grandmother from my mom's side,
Okay.
who then reached out to my stepmom, who had already left my dad and moved back to her native land, which was San Salvador.
Wow.
Yeah, so my grandmother got a hold of my stepmom, talked to her, let her know what was happening, because
Yeah.
she wasn't even she wasn't involved or in the loop. Ended up getting my mother to come from El Salvador to the Middle East to try to get us to come back to the States.
Because what was the objective in your dad sending you there, besides having less mouths to feed? There was a mindset, a cultural mindset about girls being a
Yes.
certain age, and there was an objective that he had in mind for a better life, which was what?
Yes, so this is just
Brace yourself.
Yes, this is just the Middle Eastern culture. But so what they believe is, since my last name is El Karaki, but I'm a female, if I get married, it'll change. So what they do is they try to extend the family line.
Okay.
So they marry you to basically your first cousins. So us as women.
That's not real smart DNA-wise.
No, but that's
Wow.
that's normal over there.
Wow.
We actually went with the understanding we were going for
A vacation.
a vacation, but the true plan was to get us girls married as soon as our little lady friend would come to town.
So as
we were
soon
old
as
enough.
you went into your normal cycle of teenage girls in the way God planned nature and everything, which could have been 11, 12, 13 years old,
Yes.
you were going to be married off, in other
Yes.
words.
And crazy enough, none of us girls were there yet.
Yeah.
Even though my sisters were 13, they just
That had not happened.
that
in their
has
bodies
not
yet.
happened
Yeah.
yet, and we were there for a little over 2 years, close to 3 years, and we all were promised someone. We had little wedding ceremonies, little engagement parties. We received all kind of jewelry. We were we had our promised person. We even were sent to like go and stay with that family, which is my uncle's, so we were sent to stay with my uncle for like 2 or 3 days out of the week so that we would learn how to cook and clean and take care of our guy. So we would be there, and we would have to
You were
be
in training.
yes,
But
definitely in
nobody
training.
touched you sexually.
No.
Okay,
No.
yeah.
It was that was no, praise God, that did not happen.
Yeah.
No.
Wonderful.
But it was,
And what's interesting to me is if you were there 2-3 years and your sisters were getting older and you were getting older, normally nature would have kicked in and you each would have started your menstrual cycle.
Tell me how God was not involved in all.
See, talk about him staying his hand,
Yes.
even on the natural course of things,
Yes.
for your protection. Because
Yes.
had that happened, the only way you would have gotten out of that country was in a coffin.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, we
once
probably would be there.
Once
We
the
would-
deal was sealed.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my stars.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, Ayda.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So God was watching out for you the whole time, but you didn't even know him yet.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. I mean, we weren't like faith, like our family was not running after any kind of religion or anything like that. My dad was Muslim.
Yeah.
And he didn't enforce that kind of faith on us. He wasn't like teaching us anything. But that was
His background.
That was
Yeah.
his background. However, we did live across the street from a little Baptist church, and during like the week on Sundays, my mom was trying to let my dad sleep because he would be out all night, and so she would like kick us out of the house and just go to the church. And
She'd send you across the street to the
yeah,
church.
go to the church, go get breakfast, go to Sunday school, whatever, but just get out of the house. So,
Oh, for goodness sake.
yes.
So God was working with that also.
Oh my goodness, how
Planting
his hand,
seeds
definitely.
about God and Jesus and the Bible.
Yes.
And the motivation of your mom was go get the snacks they serve children at
Yes.
Sunday school. Be out of the house so the house is quiet, and go play. And
Yes, and as a Sunday school teacher today, I know that there had to been a teacher who was interceding for my family.
Wow.
I mean, I choose to believe that.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I know how I am with my kids,
Oh,
so I'm
yeah.
like, oh, somebody did that for me.
wow.
Yes.
Wow. That is just. Now, your dad sent you guys over. You also mentioned that your dad he had a gambling issue.
Yes, yeah. And so I believe that is where everything stemmed from. Like, I think he was overwhelmed. I mean, our family had a lot of businesses. My dad was always on top, I guess I should say, but he did have an obsession with gambling.
Wow.
And so I think he probably hit a low.
Yeah.
And couldn't sustain all of these children.
Yeah, the food bill.
And
And growing children.
For sure. And then I think he just decided, I'm going to send them to my family.
Yeah.
And then maybe he thought when things got better, he would bring us back. I know he left the Middle East, so I don't think he was really thinking this is what I want for my kids. But then again, we lived in LA. He probably didn't think that's what he wanted for his children either. So, I don't know, because my dad refused to speak about this once we got back.
And when did you get oh my gosh. I'm excited. You and I were talking, and,
Yes.
and I had brought up the movie that Sally Fields did years ago.
Yes.
True story. Get your hands on it if you can. Called Not Without My Children.
Not without my daughter. Yes.
Riveting story of an American woman who escapes out of the Middle East with her daughter.
And I believe the movie was done in 1986.
Yeah, and it was pulled from the theaters because a lot of
too
people
hard.
here in the U.S. couldn't handle the truth about what was going on. So, but you were there.
I was there.
And there was a plan your mom came over from El Salvador, even though she was no longer married to your dad.
Well, they were still married. They just weren't together. Yes.
So the plot thickens. I mean, she came over there with the idea of rescuing you guys?
She did. She went over there with so my grandmother and grandfather kind of coached her like, hey, these girls need help. Like they're stuck out there.
Yeah.
So she ended up going over there. And my sisters with my stepmom, my sisters, my two older sisters decided like we need to figure out, like we need to do something.
Yeah.
So they started because my mom now was there, so my mom can hover over us. So we would pretend like we were going out for the day to just walk around or something, but we would go to the American Embassy and try to get help at the American Embassy. And there were so many things that needed to take place in order for us to get out. Like we needed to get a hold of our passports and visas, which we did not have. That was in the possession of my uncle. And so we would,
So anything that ID'd you or proved that you were American or represented the freedoms that you should have or be able to get back to, he had absconded that and it was in his possession. So you...
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And then women don't have rights. So it's not like my mom can say, hey, give me the girl. It doesn't work like that. And over there, it's like a little different than here. Your visa expires there and you're stuck. You become a citizen of it's just, it's crazy how everything, I mean, I know, like looking back today, I know the Lord was in every detail.
Yeah.
Because we my sisters found the visas and the passports like within weeks of them expiring.
Look at God.
Like it's like the way every detail worked out was amazing.
The Lord was really watching out.
Most definitely.
Yeah. And you said that your escape, you mentioned, well, we went underground, and I said, what does underground mean? What is that? I mean, surely they didn't pack you in a bunker, and you said, oh, yes, they did.
Yes.
Well, you said something about you went to the MCs, and then it was a Christian family?
It was.
How'd you guys tell us about that?
So
we've only got, we're doing okay.
So we had, so we went to the American Embassy. They kind of coached us on everything that we needed to do. And with the American Embassy found a way for us to escape. And literally that movie, Not Without My Daughter, is exactly what we went through. And that movie came out, I want to say, the year that we made it home.
Wow.
So it just... You
were like, that's my life, that's my life.
We honestly saw that and we were like, oh my gosh, that's our story. And then Oprah even did an interview on that. And it blew my mind that somebody was telling our story. But yes, we end up getting we got connected with a Christian family who one day in the like in the middle of the night, they were like, everything you have, just leave it and come. And they basically took us. We went to a house that looked like a normal house in like a normal town. And then they just like pulled back a carpet. There's a hole in the floor, and they're like, just go, just fall into the hole. And so we go into a hole, and when we go inside the hole, there's like a whole living space.
Was somebody in the hole who caught you and guided
you?
There
was somebody on the other end. I mean, and we were never alone in that. And praise God that nothing. I mean, because I think of underground stuff today, and I'm like, oh my goodness, how was the Lord's hand protecting me the whole time?
Yeah.
But everything was so just done with so much love.
Wow.
Like. And I remember, that.
Of course,
I just
you were old enough to really remember that.
Yes, and so we kind of lived under that. I honestly thought it was only about 2 weeks, but I was sharing this conversation with my sister a few months back, and they were like, "No, we were there for almost a month," and I was like, "Oh, like, for me,
So it was like an underground house.
it was an underground house. And then again, in the middle of the night, because what had to happen is that our family was looking for us. So we couldn't go to the airport. We could, you know what I mean? They were looking for us. We were escaping. And so they had to keep us like
Really hidden.
underground
Oh, yeah.
for a little bit, because they were saying eventually they'll die down. They won't be at the airport every night looking for you guys. And so,
Oh, my
basically in the middle of the night one day, they were like, we're driving you to Egypt, and you're getting on a plane, you're going back to California. And like when we came back to the States, we had nothing. We had no place to go. We didn't even,
You
we
had
had
the clothes on your body, and that was it.
Yes, because we left
Literally.
everything behind. We left everything behind.
Well, you were literally escaping with your life alone.
Yes.
And you 5 kids got to stay together
So at this time,
as you were escaping.
at this point, my brother had already left,
Okay.
because my brother and another brother went. Eventually, my middle brother went to the Middle East, but they were rebelling and getting in trouble. So my uncle was like, "No, these guys will end up, being in trouble out here."
Sure.
So he sent Jamal and Jihad back to to the U.S. with my dad. But the girls were left behind, and when the 4 girls were left behind, that's when my stepmom came. And then when my stepmom came, she came with my little sister, who is her daughter.
Okay.
So she's still my sister, but she's
Wow.
my mom.
And she was brave enough to care about you guys, come get you.
Yes.
And bring her baby with her.
Yes. And
Mercy.
so all of us, so basically the escape was 6 women who were leaving.
6 women.
Yes.
Now, we have got to wrap this up.
Okay.
But one of the things that's amazing to me is on the flight back, all of a sudden, you sisters all started your female cycle.
I did. I started
your
I
cycle.
started on the
on
airplane.
the plane, mid-air, coming back to the United
Yes.
States.
Yes.
Look how God protected you.
I know, and I was one of the youngest, so it blew me away that I was one that started. But it's just
did
the
that
Lord
for
was in
all
the
of you.
details.
Protecting you.
Yeah.
So you didn't qualify to be a wife yet.
No, but
Even though you were children.
any
Mercy,
day, yes.
Any day, any moment that could have happened. We have so much more to share. What a woman, what a story.
Yes.
You're such a find in my life. We're in a prayer group together, and I always look forward to seeing you. We're playing Beat the Clock.
Yes.
Ayda, thank you so much for being here. I
Thank
love
you
you
for
so
having me.
much. I'm Dr. Jackie Priestley. You've been watching Let's Talk About It. Stay with us because we're going to continue with Ayda. Look forward to seeing you next episode. Bye-bye.